Who was your very first love? Do you remember? Thinking about your first love always puts such a smile on your face. But actually, your very first love is not who you think it is. Our very first love is always the person who held us as a baby. The person who cooed over you, who fed you, who changed your bottom, who helped you get to sleep. Maybe it was your mom, maybe it was your dad. When you're little, you are so incredibly vulnerable and you are so incredibly dependent on the person you love. It's the most powerful bond you'll ever experience. Like, this love is literally life or death, because without that person, you couldn't survive. Now, that first bond taught you what love is. It taught you what love felt like. It taught you how love treats you. And it laid a baseline for what's normal. And if your caregiver couldn't see you, or didn't really like you, or was inconsistent in meeting your physical and emotional needs, you came to believe that your survival depended on either getting them to love you back by being the perfect child or making them laugh or pleasing them, or by reducing your needs to as few as possible so that you could become self-reliant and you didn't have to depend on anyone but yourself. The biggest revolution in relationship science lies in understanding how that early attachment ends up shaping our experiences with love. Hi, I'm Amy Waterman. I am a love expert here at yourbrilliance.com. And in this video, I want to talk to those of you who feel like no one will ever love you. If that's you, give me a thumbs up so I know you're here. You can't figure out why your relationships aren't working because you work so hard at being the perfect woman and a great girlfriend. So why don't men see that? Well, first of all, it's not you. You are lovable and you are worthy, but you're caught in a trap. It's called the anxious avoidant trap, and there are ways to get free. Just keep watching. As you can imagine, a lot can go wrong in our early years. The most important task of childhood is knowing deep in our bones that we are loved and that this love will be constant even if times are rocky. Now, ideally, it would be completely unimaginable that a parent would ever stop loving their kid just because their kid's going through those difficult teen years, or because their kid has different values, or because their kid made some big mistake. But not all of us learn that. What a lot of us learn is the opposite. We learn that the love of our parents is dependent on how we perform. And we learn that we only get love if we measure up to their expectations. We learn that love can be given one moment and revoked the next. We learn that love hurts. It makes us feel so small. We can't trust it to be there when we need it. Love isn't a safe space to catch us if we fall. So at this point, we have one of two options. So if love isn't secure, then you've got to hustle for it. So you've got to make people happy. You've got to do things to make them smile. You've got to avoid making any mistake that might drive love away. Or you can conclude that if love isn't secure and reliable, you don't need it. You can create a life on your own, knowing that you are the only person that you can truly rely on. Now, those two options, roughly speaking, describe people with anxious attachment, which are the hustlers, and people with avoidant attachment. Those are the aloofers, which probably isn't even a word, but you get what I mean. If you are someone who struggles with relationships, who is desperate for love that you never find because men keep pulling away, if you just want answers as to why this is so hard, then you might very well be caught in the anxious avoidant trap. So this trap is when a person who spent her entire life yearning for love and hustling for love ends up falling for somebody who spent his entire life relying on himself and never depending on anyone. These two people get caught in this predictable dynamic. She wants to get close and he keeps pulling away. Now, in an ideal world, those of us who are anxious simply wouldn't pick partners who were avoidant. So we would never get into that trap in the first place. The minute we see that a guy isn't comfortable with intimacy, that he won't rely on anyone, that he has this habit of disappearing, then we would say goodbye and we would look for somebody else who's actually secure. But that is really hard to do because our anxiety about love actually propels us straight into the arms of men who can't love us. We expect love to be unreliable, and so these unreliable partners actually feel normal to us. Now, on a really deep level, we have ulterior motives in falling for these guys. We are actually hoping to redo our childhood and get it right this time. Now, none of this is conscious, of course, but on a subconscious level, we are picking these men because they remind us of the unavailable, inconsistent love that we experienced as a kid. This is basics of imago therapy. If you were a kid and your dad wasn't around or he didn't pay much attention to you, then when as an adult you finally meet a man who pays attention to you, it feels blissful. Feels like being a kid in a candy store because you're finally getting that love that you always wanted and was always out of reach. Now, if this guy is a secure guy, then there's a very good chance that your relationship can heal those childhood wounds. But if this guy isn't really unavailable and he ends up pulling away from you and withdrawing his love and affection, then a relationship with him can actually dig those wounds even deeper. You can start to think, if not even this guy can love you, then maybe you're not lovable. Maybe you've got to work even harder to be able to deserve love. So there's a lot going on underneath our desire for love. We think we love in order to get married and have a family and live a life together. But in many ways, we love because we have this deep yearning to heal. We spend our entire lives trying to heal the wound of not being loved fully and completely for who we are. If you've ever noticed within yourself an attraction to men who can't love you, this is where it comes from. So the next question, what can you do about it? You don't want to stay stuck in this trap forever, falling in love with men who offer you that same unpredictable, unreliable, incomplete love that you have experienced so much in your life. So the first thing to know is that simply being conscious of this pattern can change everything, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And now when you find yourself in a relationship with somebody who's unreliable, who only loves you when you please him, you can just say, look at me, I've fallen for an avoidant man again, and you can walk away. Now, the second thing to know is that avoidant men are not the only kind of men out there. There are plenty of secure men who can offer you a secure, reliable love. And you can set your sights on that now. You know that you have made it to an advanced level in love when you find secure love incredibly attractive. So secure love is the guy who shows up when he says he's going to show up. Secure love is the guy who texts back when you text him. Secure love is the guy who doesn't make promises he can't keep. And secure love is what finally heals those childhood wounds. Now, the final thing to know is that not all anxious avoidant relationships are doomed. So if right now you love somebody who keeps pulling away and making you feel anxious, you can talk to him about it. And you can share this vision you have for secure love, and you can invite him to do this work with you. What transforms the anxious avoidant relationship, which is a relationship of stress, of extreme highs and lows, of disappointment, of unpredictability, to a secure relationship of security and constancy and reliability and steadiness, is one thing, and that is trust. You've got to learn to trust each other and be able to trust each other. So the avoidant man has to work on being there for you. You need to be able to trust that if he goes away, he's going to come back, and his love for you will not waver while he's gone. He needs to get comfortable with interdependence and not see himself as a lone wolf anymore. And you're going to have things that you need to work on too. You're going to need to work on communicating better so that you don't punish him for not being able to read your mind. And this is a relationship where you'll need to build up your sense of self and retain some of that independence rather than merging fully into a couple. And by doing this work, and that means both of you, you can create the secure relationship that maybe neither of you have ever experienced before. To me, love is the work of healing each other. And it's a messy process. You realize going in that both of you are wounded and both of you have triggers. And whatever level of trust you have right now, you're going to need more because your default setting is colored by all of the disappointments that you have experienced in the past. And that's why you need one thing more than anything else. You need an emotionally intelligent man. When you find emotional intelligence incredibly attractive, and by that I mean that you are turned on by somebody who is willing to stick in and do the work, who will make repairs when you fight, and who will be honest even when it's hard, you are playing love at an extraordinarily high level. Now, if this kind of information makes you excited and you want to learn more, I would love to see you over at yourbrilliance.com. We have information on so many things. We've got information on how to find and keep love, how to shine in your career. We've got health, we've got mindset, we've got everything. So please come and visit us. See you next time.